he left a bear cub in the middle of Central Park, and that was a dead bear cub. And then that was the headline. And now this video is RFK being like, I've got to get ahead of the story. Like this is him getting ahead of the story and putting his best face forward.
Yeah, let's take a look here, and then we'll actually check out the details about this bear, because I'm hearing about this for the first time.
Yeah, Gavin's our neutral.
Gavin's not an animal rights activist like us.
It's funny, too, because Gavin's the only one that doesn't eat meat. He's the only one that cares about what happened to this little bear.
I was taking a group of people falconing up in Goshen, New York, up in the Hudson Valley. And I was...
We should also specify, yes, for the people at home, that is Roseanne Barr.
Supposed to meet them there at like maybe 8 or 9. I was driving up maybe, really early, like 7. And that woman in a van in front of me hit a bear and killed it. A young bear. So I pulled over.
Just pause. Like this is who you confess your sins to in Hollywood.
You have to have Roseanne Barr over. You fly her in from her macadamia nut farm in Hawaii.
Roseanne, I have to respond.
Roseanne's like, I got your back, Bobby. I know what it's like when the public comes after you for saying something. I was given a medical diagnosis and a medication, and I said some things under the influence of that medication that I would never have said of my sober mind, and the people came after me. You would have never done this to a little bear cub, but as it stands now, Bobby, you
picked up the bear and put him in the back of my van because I was going to skin the bear. And it was
okay. What the fuck, Bobby? Why were you going to skin the bear? What the hell is the matter with you? You're trying to portray yourself as the animal rights activist, and then you're like, you know what?
Let's just for.
I knew from my father that, a bear skin, that was going to fetch quite a coin. And I figured maybe one of the ladies of the night that I owed some money to, I could throw it off and, I could maybe, keep it away. Because my father, he would always check when I made large cash withdrawals. And he would be like, Bobby, hey, I mean, not my father. Of course, he was dead.
RFK, yeah, he spoke to you as a ghost though, all the time. I mean, imagine being that woman. You hit something, it's really shocking. You get out of your car, and then Robert Kennedy Jr. appears behind you. He's like, I'll skin it. Don't worry, I'll skin it. And it's like, okay, that's bullshit. There was no lady. He killed the bear. Like he definitely. Like, let's keep going though.
Wait, so you guys think that he hit the bear with his car?
There's no lady. Yeah.
I just don't. What exactly is the... I mean, people have accidents. Like, sometimes that happens. I don't think anyone would come out here and try to crucify him for accidentally hitting a bear.
And then skinning it?
I mean, that's...
Not trying to
but
save
why
it?
even say... Like, why would he even bring this
Okay,
up?
the lady's real. And so the thing is, it's more traumatizing if the lady is real.
And put the meat in my refrigerator. And you can do that in New York State. You can get a bear tag for a roadkill bear.
Oh, gross. So foul. Imagine the line of guys to get the roadkill tag. The creepy suspect line of men. Like, that should just be... If you're going in to get a tag for roadkill, you should just go to jail.
I mean, do you know what's funny? Actually, I dated a girl in high school. This is a fucked up story. I'm not going to look super great, but I didn't realize she was a hillbilly. It was one of the first girls I ever dated in high school. Her name was Alexis, and we were at a football game, Olathe North High School. And she referenced that, sometimes her family and her, like, they were not like roadkill because it was like a hillbilly like stick thing. And people where Gavin and I grew up, there was a very specific kind of white person that was like married to hillbilly culture. Anyway, we broke up at halftime. Some people actually do eat roadkill. RFK is not one of them. And he definitely just wanted the bear hide. But I don't know what the fuck he was doing with the bear meat. Probably some voodoo witchcraft ritual that the Kennedys do to preserve themselves.
Yeah, like the only thing I've ever heard of in this regard is like deer. Because like obviously deer meat is actually something that people eat. Sometimes like if a deer gets hit, they'll like donate the meat, which is still kind of weird. I wouldn't want to eat fucking deer, like roadkill of any sort. But who the fuck eats bear? Is that even a thing?
Well, if it's been hit by a car, perhaps. Oh wait, chat's saying my mic is fucked. Am I too loud?
Now
I can turn
it's
myself
better
down.
now. It's better now. It was good, and also it's just that one dude. Don't let the haters get you down, Griffin.
Yeah, I think the mic's fine. You were just like it was peaking a little bit. but
It was a little bit too close to Griffin. You know, he
I'm so
gets a
sorry.
phallus in his hand and he goes to work. You know, and we love that.
I
So
get
then
down.
we went hawking, and I had the bear in my car. And then we had a really good day, and we went late. We were catching a lot of game, and the people really loved it. So we stayed late. And instead of going back to my home in Westchester, I had to go right to the city because there was a dinner at Peter Luger's Steakhouse.
Okay, here's the thing. Who the fuck eats at Peter Luger's Steakhouse? That place is a dump. The dude that just retired from the New York Times as being their food critic, he wrote a legendary, just scathing review of Peter Luger's. But Ted asked, to be honest, this might check out because I think Bobby Kennedy might be the last kind of a guy that's still eating at Peter Luger's Steakhouse in Brooklyn, New York.
He's dragging an elk to Ruth Chris.
House. And at the end of the dinner, it went late, and I realized I couldn't go home. I had to go to the airport, and the bear was in my car, and I didn't want to leave the bear in the car.
Wait. Pause. He fucking brought the dead bear to the restaurant.
It was in the back. It was in the back of his car. Excuse me, Griffin.
You know he valeted too.
Man.
He got the valet.
You know, I support working class individuals. I always have.
Also, bro, brainworm.
He has so many encounters with diseased animals. Like there's no endless examples of ways he could have got it. Like, you know, impossible.
We still haven't examined why everything that he's seemingly eating was prepared for him and put in plastic. Does this man not know how to cook? Does not anybody in his household know how to cook? Look at it. It's just a little odd. When the camera pans back around, you guys are going to see a bunch of what looks to be like banana pudding with vanilla wafers, but it's in souffle canisters. I don't know. It's weird. It's like to-go Tupperware.
Because that would have been bad. And a little bit of the redneck in me. There'd been a series of bicycle accidents in New York. They had just put in the bike lanes. And so,
you know, the redneck in him from Boston. All right, from Irish Boston. That's the redneck in him.
people
So uninterested too. She's like, why the tend to be interested?
And the problem is he's talking to someone who is a bigger celebrity, and bigger celebrities do not like to listen to lower celebrities. They they do not want to do that. Like things go downhill, and so like she hasn't gotten to speak, and that's terrifying for her.
people got killed, and so I thought, I wasn't drinking, of course, but people were drinking with me.
Oh, so he's confessing right away. 100%. Now we know he was drunk off his ass, okay? Because the only reason you bring that up is to cover your tracks.
Well, of course, people were drinking. I wasn't drinking. I don't drink like that. Well, maybe I had some drinks. You know, I'm an Irish Catholic. It's a cultural phenomenon. It's not the same.
Like if you're picking up a roadkill bear, you're like then if you're drinking, like what's going on then? Are you destroying entire forests? Like what this is a sober version of you, and this is you getting ahead of the story?
Let's keep
I feel like this is the kind of story too that you'd be better off just not commenting on. Am I wrong?
Oh, dude,
what are you possibly going to?
Nick
Let's
Branagh
get in there.
is overseeing this.
Yeah, I mean, just
I think
Thought this was a good idea. And I said, well, I had an old bike in my car that somebody died for people. So everybody thought that's a great idea. So we went and did
I
that.
have to understand, he was a grown man while this was happening, but he tells it the same way you would tell the story about TPing your buddy's house after, you know, he was kind of a dick to you and your friends and he wouldn't come out and hang out, or he told his mom where you guys hit the weed and then you guys all got grounded, so you went and, you know, you like noogied him and like, you know, let the air out of his bike tires. That's how he tells this story, when in reality,
but instead the context is like this. Like no one should have this many stories with dead animals.
yeah, I mean, I don't know, Gavin, you're the vegetarian among us. If you were put in the situation, this is a serious question, Gavin. If you were put in the situation where the woman in front of you, let's say that RFK is telling the truth. Let's say that he is a honest, sympathetic character in this situation. Now he hits this poor bear cub, right? An endangered species in New York, probably, right? Okay. He hits the bear cub. Or the lady in front of him, rather, hits it, whichever story you believe. Now, it's on the side of the road. As a person who has not eaten meat for the better part of a decade, would you rather him leave it on the side of the road or skin it, keep it in his car, and then roast it for all of his boys back in Westchester?
I don't give a fuck what people do with it. I mean, if someone hits a fucking animal, if you want to eat it, go for it. But I just don't understand how this was even, how was it even discovered that he did this in the first place?
Well, we have a great way to show you how this was discovered, because it was written about at the time by a Kennedy, right?
Yes. So that's what's crazy about this.
I think I have it right here.
Oh, yeah. Gavin's going to go ahead and pull it up. So what a lot of people won't realize is this is like JFK's granddaughter that wrote this article, right? So if you scroll down just a little bit.
Everybody keep your eyes real open for this one.
That JFK's granddaughter wrote the NYT article.
How did this warrant an article in the New York Times?
Okay, Gavin, if you
it's a Central Park dead bear. That's a big event. That's like if you left a dead elephant in Times Square
in Central Park.
Yeah, dude. And Central Park has a bunch of shit going on. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge park for people.
Gavin does make the good point, though. It's another example of just don't talk about it. Yeah. But the Kennedys were like, we have to throw them off the trail. We need a New York Times article about it to blame someone else. Like, who do they blame in it? I think they blame a biker. Like they said, like a fucking moped hit it or something. Like,
well, that's why he apparently brought it to the park in the first place, to make it look like a bicyclist hit it or something.
Yeah, he basically confesses to staging a crime and then framing an innocent cyclist. But this man wants to act like it was somehow an act of valor and how he was helping this woman. Also, he mentions offhandedly that everybody else was drinking but him. He wasn't drinking, which means he was drunk as fuck, and he definitely was drunk driving, and he was afraid of getting a DUI. So instead, he takes the car and he takes the cub and he puts it in the back of his car, and he's like, shit, I don't want to actually get rid of this without any benefit, right? So let me skin the hide off of this son's thing, maybe get somebody in my family's approval, because they can turn it into a hat and give it as a gift to a Russian or something. And then he's like, shit, I can't actually take for succession. They have to frame it on one of the lesser individuals, somebody who's not as important as them. Oh, this is going to be horrible for the family, so somebody else is going to have to fall on the sword. That bleeds down to somebody who's never contributed an ounce. Other important relatives he had he felt justified in framing somebody else for a crime, a heinous crime.
I mean, it is kind of sad, though, that, like, he's so excited to just have another news, and it's all over for him now that like Biden's out and Kamala's in. So it's like he loved that he got to make this little video because no one gives a shit about him anymore. And I think what he'll do now is I think he's just going to open his diary of bad things, and each week he's going to admit another cardinal sin, another elephant killed, or, you know.
He's supposedly angling for a job in like Trump's potential future administration,
and they don't even want him. They will start
when they see these new polls.
Well, that's the thing. They're gonna start getting desperate, and then it may come back on the table.
He's falling off.
But like, he wanted to be like way too like big boy job where you actually have to like know how to do stuff. Like, it's not like
not even get confirmed by the Senate, to be honest.
It's not like Department of Transportation where you just have to like fucking go on lunches with like Boeing executives and stuff like that. Like, it's a real job. And
he definitely shouldn't be in charge of it. Like,
he
doesn't fucking end up there. I don't even think he'd get confirmed by the Senate if he was nominated for HHS. But
Trump likes vaccines. Trump likes vaccines.
Right.
So,
but I also just, why the hell, if you are trying to angle for some sort of a future position in a potential Trump administration, if you want to have any political sway left, people ever.
Yeah, it's rejected comic. One of the first people to be righteously canceled.
It's about attempt
it on a biker. It was an Ambien episode. He can't be held responsible for that. Shame on you for being ableist about it.
Yeah. Anyway, what a weird campaign. He leans into the most bizarre shit, but I guess it is just for attention. I mean, I guess that's what this has all been about from the very very beginning.
Yeah, because no one's gonna advise him to do this video. He's like, we have to do this video, So I don't know. I mean, it's about attention, but I mean, his attention is fading.
Well, 100%. This is the theory I've had for the entirety of the RFK run. He's looking at his life, and it's coming to an end, right? And what did he do with his life? He was just a rich, snobby Nepo babe's father. And when he compares himself to his uncle and his family and the legacy he inherited, he can't accept the fact that he was not a part of that legacy, like that he wasn't even a Joe Kennedy, right? He didn't even have a Nepo baby run in Congress where he got
but
to
if that's true, then why is he just posting all of his L's and embarrassing himself? Like, that's not very JFK-like. That's not very RFK-like.
Right. I think now he's just flailing because he knows.
Yeah. JFK's Snapchat leaks would have been insane. Like JFK's Snapchat leaks, they would have been insane because
right here, this city abortion betrayed me, and they haven't come out for me because this, and I think it's got a little bit to do with something about they don't like the fact that I'm Catholic, and I need a Catholic vote to come out here and start representing me and the people of abortion, and I want to go out here and represent the people of America and get behind me for a free Irish America.
You've been working on that. Why? It's not that useful anymore. It's just not that relevant anymore.
Listen, Jack,
You've practiced every Kennedy. Jackie, can you do Jackie? Give me Jackie real quick before we end the
Me
segment.
and Natalie Portman have a Zoom call later. We're going to
Nice.
work on it. She's going to give me notes. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. But, I think we should move our attention to part of the race, the VP race to be specific. By the time this episode comes out on VOD tomorrow, we might already have an answer.
I think it's going to be Tuesday, but that's
it's going to be Tuesday. Oh, great. Then this will be relevant. Then everyone can watch this video and do all the anticipation. But people think it's this George Shapiro guy. What's our take here? Everyone is criticizing him. What are the things? Why are people mad at this Josh?
Actually, it's great that you ask. It's all anti-Semitism, Griffin.
Oh,
It has
okay.
absolutely nothing to do with this man's policy, the way he's voted, the way he's conducted himself and governed. Actually, we don't even have much of a record, as Gavin's been quick to point out, because he hasn't spent much time at all as a governor. Here's one story, though, that I want you two to both react to, please, that I think is a natural segue from the cover-up that we just talked about in Central Park. Here, we have a Twitter account.
Central Park one.
That's shared. It says, sorry, this is difficult to read. I've zoomed in a bunch, but I think it's just going to be hard for you guys to read because of the way the layout is, unfortunately. It says, according to CBS News, one of Kamala Harris' likely VP picks, Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, may have covered up the murder of a 27-year-old Pennsylvania school teacher. Shapiro calls it a suicide, even as medical
I'm starting to like this guy.
Occurred after Ellen Greensburg's death, and 20 of the, you know what I mean? Oh, I don't know. He just accidentally, I have no idea. 10 of the 20 stab wounds were to the back of her head. That's not a suicide. The alleged killer's family may have donated to Shapiro's campaign, according to a journalist. I'm going to pull up more intel about this, but I want your guys' both of your raw reactions. Gavin, what's your take?
I mean, I'd love to see more details because that's pretty vague. Just he may have covered, like, did he or didn't he? Like, what's going on?
I think this is a huge pro for Shapiro. I mean, they're recreating the Hillary coalition. It used to be the Clinton kill list. Now it's the Kamala kill list. The Clinton hit squad or whatever it was. This is good. This is what they want. This is what they're looking for. This is exactly what they're building. They're building towards this. They didn't or help. Because they didn't get here because of anyone on the left, and they certainly think they don't. Has Waltz covered up any murders? I bet if you looked into Walt's history, there's 0 dead women.
Yeah, because that's how good he is at covering them up. You don't even know about it.
Yeah, dude, most people aren't losers. I like the ones that don't get caught. This guy watches a lot of true crime. Anyway, on January 26, 2011, during a snowstorm in Philadelphia, excuse me, that's also Pennsylvania, but let's be accurate and to the point. Ellen Greensberg decided to leave work and go back to her apartment in Manayunk. That evening, around 6:40 p.m., Ellen was found with 20 stab wounds, including 10 on her back and neck. I've already read enough that she did not kill herself. Gavin, have you read enough that she didn't kill herself?
If she was trying to kill herself, she's really bad at it. Imagine just stabbing yourself over and over again, hoping to die, and then
let's be fair. It could have been a
luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will.
Yeah, I think it could have been a Rube Goldberg machine where the knives fell at post mortem to stab. Like friends with the.
Read on.
He's okay. Let's dun dun.
She also has 11 bruises in different stages of healing on her right arm, abdomen, and right leg. Despite these alarming
This is
details,
grotesque.
the Philadelphia Police Department ruled her death a suicide.
This is not
While
safe for
homicide
work.
Investigators had concerns and considered the case suspicious. It was officially closed as a suicide. Her parents, Joshua and Sandra Greenberg, have fought for years to overturn this ruling, believing their daughter was murdered. Their legal battle has included 2 civil lawsuits against the city seeking to reopen the investigation to challenge the suicide ruling. Recently, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court agreed to hear their case, which could allow for a reevaluation of the death certificate. I'm looking at this right now. I'm telling you, this lady didn't kill herself. If this is the actual report right here, if we're not reading a bunch of fake news, look at that. How did you get stabbed in all of those locations?
Well, that's actually the biopsy photo for Jeffrey Epstein as well.
Like, Gavin, what are you thinking?
I mean, it looks pretty obvious, and you
It's
really
a
have
suicide because it was part of the Kamala kill squad.
Right.
Okay, let's go ahead and just read these, and then we can, move on to Twitter speculation. I just want everybody to have all the facts. Case facts cannot be disputed. And
this is so many facts.
Guy that doesn't have to be vice president, right? We have a way better candidate, as Griffin pointed out, with 20 plus stab wounds. The death was initially.
Wait, can we do it? Wait, can we do it the way that Josh Shapiro talks? Because he talks like Barack Obama.
Death was initially ruled homicide. Ruling changed to suicide by an examiner. And her parents, Joshua and Sandra Greenberg, dispute this, accusing Josh Shapiro of a cover-up.
You gotta do more. You gotta do more pauses.
Filed to reopen the case. Pennsylvania Supreme Court agreed to review it. And critics accuse Josh Shapiro of hindering justice. Well, key evidence allegedly overlooked, including spinal tissue
and pussy too.
And case referred back to the Philadelphia DA's office. Now, folks, I'll leave it up to you, but
that's a murderer. I don't care what they're calling it. That's a murderer, okay?
He killed some folks. Okay,
we killed some folks over there.
And we tortured some folks.
We covered it up. We killed some gay best friends of mine.
Well, yeah, I mean that seems like kind of the nail in the coffin. Jokes aside, I don't know how the hell this doesn't get dredged up and used to attack the Kamala Shapiro ticket if it were to.
Well, here's the thing, guys. No one is going to care or know about this story. Where do we even find that story? In the gutter? That story's not going anywhere.
Yes, that's a pretty scandalous story, bro. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was saying that about the sexual harassment cover-up. I was like, no one's going to care if someone else in his department did something. Like, no one's going to care. But this is, this looks pretty
right. I think this is the best thing that's ever happened to Tim Walz's chances. I'll tell you that much, because I at first I've gone through all the stages of grief, guys. Denial. I've made it to acceptance, and then I'm back to denial again, because in my brain, it just tells me the Democrats are fundamentally wired to make the wrong decision. So I just revert back to they're going to just ignore all of the fuss and just pick Josh Shapiro anyway, like consequences be damned. That's what my instincts, my gut, every visceral thing, cellular level I feel. Okay. However, intellectually, cognitively, this is the best thing that's ever happened for the Walz momentum. Best things about another Minnesotan, Jesse Ventura, love him or hate him, they did a bunch of oppo on the guy, and what comes out is, he said a bunch of controversial things and he's had a bunch of takes, but he's an intense family man. He's never fucked around. There's no photos of him with hookers out, snort and blow. You know what I mean? So they couldn't ever slander him. And that's the thing that I think Midwesterners really care about. Like, is this guy a family guy? And I think during the 2024 election, that's a perfect foil to JD Vance. You can be like, bro, you want to portray yourself as the like return to family in America. He was like, nobody loves their family more than me. I served in the military. I fought for this country. I served 6 terms in Congress. I fucking won a gubernatorial election. I'm as American as apple pie. And how dare you try and challenge me on that? That's an effective message. However, I just think the Democrats are wired to pick a less effective message, Shapiro, a shit sandwich, that we'll have to come out here and be like, guys, listen, it was a really bad choice, but here's how we can do the best with what we've got. Like, that's what I fear is going to happen.
I mean, Tim Walz is Family Guy, and Josh Shapiro and JD Vance are like the new normal. You know that show, what was that Twitter show?
The new norms.
The new norm.
Norm.
Oh no, that was the Oids album, or maybe that was the Strokes album.
What were you saying? Wait, what were you saying, Gavin?
Yeah, the new norm, and then the freaking theme song was like the new norm's not the same as the old norm. Remember that? That's all right.
Yeah. Anyway,
New norms connected to the old norm.
I think to what Zach is saying though, I do have to say to it could be Waltz maybe if Josh Shapiro has just been addicted to covering up too many murders and is like a Gone Girl list of weird disappearing women.
We didn't even get into the fact that the guy that's accused of doing it, his family was a large donor to the Shapiro campaign.
Well, that's the connection. No, but that's the main connection. That's the nail in the coffin from that story. Oh, like I was 20 years old, right? Like I was 20 years old when I said all that stuff, but I want to put all the current 20-year-olds in jail. The 20-year-olds right now, they should go to jail. What I said when I was 20 then, there's like a lot of speculation of like what he did at the IDF too. Did you see
when I was 20 years old? I was a hopeful, idealistic man. I was committed to my faith. Okay, a lot of people in this day and age, some do. Some don't practice faith. Faith to a religion, a spirit, or a higher power. It drew me as a young man, as it does an older man, leads me in my decisions that I make. My decisions, my faith may not be the same as yours. That's America. Freedom.
I bet he didn't do like normal IDF stuff. I bet he was like one of the like semen extractors that they have to like take the cum out of like the dead guys and like bring it back to Israel. Like I bet that's what Josh Shapiro was doing. Was just
actually we know what Josh Shapiro was doing. Let me go.
No, he was definitely sucking the cum out of dead bodies, right?
He worked for Hasbara, the propaganda wing of the
exactly. No, what Josh Shapiro was doing was he was taking the Austin Powers penis pump and just jacking dead bodies off all over the Gaza Strip, I guess, or whatever, West Bank, wherever he could find them, really. And
it does look like, by the way, maybe a slight update on the VP race. So you guys might have seen this earlier. Vice President Harris meeting in person today with 3 potential VP candidates: Governor Tim Walz, Governor Josh Shapiro, from Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly says his mission is now serving Arizona.
Oh, he posted this to his close friends with a heartbreak emoji.
Yeah, we also had a picture yesterday with my boy or whatever, and everyone was roasting it because the actual contenders are all meeting with Harris this weekend in D.C. Meanwhile, Bashir's over at some like freaking banana peel game in Georgia. My prediction actually is Walz. I think that Tim Walz will be Kamala Harris's VP. Why? Not because he's super progressive and not because he's being embraced by the Bernie bros online, but because Nancy Pelosi apparently wants it to happen. And not just Pelosi. I don't know, man. It seems like he not only has the connections necessary to get the job done, but he also it will be the safest choice. Like, it's usually not the case that the furthest left option is the safest choice in the eyes of the establishment, but I actually think this time it really has happened that way. I think that Tim Walz represents the least amount of liability. He has the least amount of scandals, and he just is the best communicator as well. He doesn't sound like a freaking Obama impersonator, and he doesn't seem like this ambitious fucking ladder climber as Josh Shapiro does. I think that'll threaten Kamala. I don't think she likes the vibes of this, Josh Shapiro guy, this young up-and-comer who clearly wants to become president himself. Tim Walz, I think he's happy to take the back seat and let her be in charge. I don't think he gives off the energy of someone who's desperately trying to climb to the top in a careerist sense. Like I get that vibe from Josh Shapiro.
Everything you said, I agree with 100%. You could have taken the words. Please ask you, what I ask all of our listeners when they're getting a little bit too optimistic, where is the kick in the nuts? The Democratic Party will never let you get away with an election without a kick in the nuts. We haven't had 2024's kick in the nuts. It's been all sunshine and daisies.
Yeah, it's been so good for us. We've been the left has been winning left and right, dude. Just like up and down the board, been racking up wins.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Zach. It seems too good to be true.
I hope you're right, though. I would be so excited to be
okay.
a Walls warrior.
I just can't.
I'll crush it. I'll crush the optimism. So, even if it is Walls, I think that like people need to know that like this election isn't for you or about you anymore. Like the left mad on her, they've got the wind in their fucking sails. They have a unique moment in history unlike any other that has such a like internal momentum to it on such key issues like abortion and shit that like it is just like a rocket ship right now, and there's like no way that they like need to kowtow or give anything to the left because the left didn't bring any of this about. I'm
not saying that they would pick Walls to appease the left at all. I'm not. I said the reason why they're going to pick Walls is because Pelosi wants him. She's not on the freaking left.
I'm talking bigger picture outside of Walls. Even if they pick Walls, I'm saying like, I mean, all of this stuff is like not even if it is Walls like this. This isn't for you if you're looking for a lot of leftist policies. Like they are about to turn like every state into crypto.com with this thing. Like they are about to like turn your body into a credit card. Like you're going to have a barcode tramp stamp by 2026. And I do think that, you know, even if
for my knuckle tattoos, if things go sideways for the Vanguard, I'm just going to get QR codes across the board. So if anybody wants to sponsor me, I'm prepared to do that.
Yeah, we should just do it on your forehead. You know, like at the end of the day, like what they're doing and what they plan on doing now is not something that is going to be a major leftist problem.
But I think the idea is you have Walls. Walls sets a certain set of expectations from the Democratic Party. Now, is that enough? Is that adequate? Is that sufficient? Absolutely not. But it at least gets the conversation going in the right direction. It pushes Kamala towards policies that are going to be like universal lunches, universal breakfast at schools, things that are going to be more towards building back better, more towards mobilized and engaged and forceful in the opposition to the foreign policy that we're seeing in Gaza. We were talking about this before going on air. I think there's going to be an absolute insane amount of people that come to Chicago to demonstrate and force whomever her VP and Kamala Harris are with Hezbollah and Israel and, you know, the bombing that we just did in Iraq, all kinds of stuff. It's not looking good. We need somebody that's going to de-escalate, that's going to advocate for diplomacy. And I think the American people have every right to ask for that. And I think that Tim Walz is the best position, obviously, to hear that. So obviously he's going to be a shit sandwich because Kamala Harris is at the top of the ticket. She was the top cop of California. I just think she's the only vehicle we have that would be, you know, somewhat receptible to the ceasefire calls we're all going to advocate for.
Yeah, but I think people should be advocating for them right now. Like, I think, like, at this point...
For them right now.
Yeah. It's just, like, that should be the number one demand right now. Like, end the fucking Holocaust, and some people will vote. More people will vote for you. You know, I would probably vote for her just on that one issue.
Justice Griffin, you're talking about how Kamala's in this unique place right now. The rocket's taking off. The momentum is clearly on their side, and that is why I'm saying it's going to be Walz. Not because I want it. Not because I'm a Bernie bro, lefty progressive that really likes his policy. No, I'm saying that Walz would not hinder that momentum at all. I'm not saying Shapiro would in a serious way, in a way that would like cost her the election or anything. But I do think that there's enough dirt on this guy, enough scandals, that it will let the media for a week or two pick through them and say, hey, what's going on with this? And obviously the right-wing media will go into overdrive talking about the frickin' cover-up and the sexual harassment, everything they can find. And if I'm Kamala, I don't want to have to be answering for that shit. I don't want to have to be defending this guy's sexual harassment cover-up and his potential cover-up of murder. Like, why would you saddle yourself with that on the campaign trail? And his comments on Israel. Not that, you know, they're going to be progressive at all, but if you're Kamala doesn't want to have to talk about controversial foreign policy. She wants to avoid that stuff at all costs on the campaign trail. If you pick Josh Shapiro, all of a sudden you're having to talk about protesters and whether or not they're analogous to the KKK, and you're having to talk about sexual harassment, and you're having to go through this guy's freaking record and defend it. Meanwhile, the same. So no, I don't think it's going to be because he's a lefty or the next Bernie Sanders. I agree. He's probably agreed to go along with whatever their agenda is. But I just think purely from an electoral perspective, he is the best pick.
I mean, I agree with you. I'm just worried about the quick kick in the nuts. I'm worried about a Tim Kaine decision. I'm worried about anything that could jeopardize Kamala's momentum right now. And a lot of people be like, you sellout, you dirty leftist. I don't want to see Donald Trump back in office. I want to be able to protest Kamala Harris so that we at least have some sort of rational actor. Not that she's the most rational actor, but she's a more rational actor, a far more rational actor than Donald Trump. And I think that she cares about optics more than he does in a way that we can manipulate to change her diplomatic position on Israel. I also think she's going to want a way to differentiate herself from Joe Biden, a serious push from the American people. Now, will it be easy? No. But I think if she's up against a civil rights movement like Lyndon Baines Johnson was, then she would push for a ceasefire and she would change her position, if only to save her own political career. She's a ladder climber at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of kick in the nuts, we should take a look at our update because we've been off for 2 weeks on this show about how it's going on the other side. Because yikes, it's getting pretty depressing over with the Trump Vance camp. I mean, it seems like every day, Vance is just saying or uncovering like a new weird story. Like there just seems to be an utter depression. Like they're just down. It's just a downer. It's just a bummer over there.
Yeah, it really is. It actually is straight up getting depressing. Like, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the recent Trump rallies, but even Trump himself kind of doesn't seem like he normally is. He doesn't seem to have that sense of this is a lot of fun and I'm having a blast. Usually Trump, he's having a great time, soaking in the attention, triggering the libs. The cameras love him. His supporters love him. But lately, out there on the campaign trail, you just get the sense that he knows that it's slipping away from him.
His luck's run out, and it's obvious. And now we have stale shit like this, and he made a disastrous pick for his running mate. I just want to play this for a second. Even when he tries to cosplay as like an Appalachian good old boy, he fucks it up. Let me be clear to everybody. Appalachians do not drink Diet Mountain Dew unless they have diabetes.
Yeah, they get diabetes like an American.
All right. Should we toast here?
Yes, we need to toast.
Yes, and then they have to start drinking.
High caffeine, low calorie.
Mm-hmm.
High caffeine, low calorie.
And when you're out here, you need a little
Like
bit
every
of everything.
Appalachian.
Yes, you do.
Mhm.
Yes, you do.
JD
Thank
Vance, a pleasure to have you.
Good to see you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for doing this.
Thank you.
Just so cringy, so unnatural.
Yeah, and I actually think that
Owned. I'm owned. I feel owned.
a slightly better candidate actually, I think leaning into the whole Diet Mountain Dew thing would work for them, right? Because the first joke, he flopped, Diet Mountain Dew is racist, no one laughed. But if he was slightly more talented, I actually think kind of doubling down on that and just being like, I'm the Diet Mountain Dew guy, and like keep trotting it out and refusing to let the media like shame him, that would work. But he's, again, just so unnatural, so inauthentic in every way that he can't.
It's the eyeshadow, which I ask so many people about the eyes, and no one wants to talk about the eyes. And he looks in pain. He looks like a dog at the shelter.
Yeah. Between everything he says, he does this really weird smile/laugh. Even if he says something really, really like,
like it's rough.
If he's like, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have destroyed this country, and then he'll pause and go, like he just told a hilarious joke. It's like, you just said something that's really serious. You're talking about the state of the country that you're running to frickin' fix, and you're laughing and smiling like you're. And it's like
Elon Musk and like Tucker Carlson were like, listen, this guy has zero media training, but also he's DM'd a lot of teens on Discord. You've got to pick him. Like the pitch must have been so insane. That's when you tell Trump is off his game, because Trump always watches the tapes. He loves to watch tapes. He's a good media analysis person, and like he must have just not watched the tapes or not cared this time. And I know he was leaning towards Burgum, which would have been just perfect, I think, for him. But then last minute, the Sons, Elon, Tucker, they all come in.
A completely different,
a whole different vibe.
Right now. And we all gave him way too much credit. I think that's one thing we have to observe right now, because of what he was able to accomplish in 2016 when he had Stevens.
Mike Pence seems like a human being now. Like Mike Pence seems like the Rizzler. Mike Pence is like, oh, I can't be in a room with another woman. And I'm like, based, bro. That's normal as fuck.
Yeah, bro, at the RNC watching JD Vance's speech, I was like, Mike Pence sounded like freaking JFK compared to this guy. And I never thought I would give Mike Pence any credit for his freaking speaking abilities or charisma. But he is way more natural on the mic. When you talk, you actually believe that he believes what he's doing.
Vice presidents don't. After he'd been named the vice president. This is the quote you give after you lose the beef steak, right? This is the quote that Tim Scott should be given whenever anybody covers the wedding he just had. He got married to a woman because he was trying to be Donald Trump's beef, and it didn't work out. And he should be the one that's talking to the Daily Beast and being like, you know what, guys, it doesn't even really matter. VPs don't even matter. However, who you don't want saying that is guys like JD Vance, the vice president, or even Donald Trump, who tells this group of journalists right here that he doesn't.
Oh, dude, great one. You fucking got it pulled up. I love this.
Oh yeah, dude. Do you guys have anything to add before we wrap this one?
No, fucking blast it, dude. Let's see it.
This decision is important this time. Bad things happen. You said it twice. When you look at JD Vance, is he ready on day one?
Does he what?
Ready on day one, if he has to be.
I've always had great respect for him. And for the other candidates too. But I will say this, and I think this is well documented. Historically,
So what's hilarious about this is he says historically the vice president has never mattered, which is not true. I think that one, we're seeing that the vice president has mattered given the fact that he's running against the former vice president as we speak, and he refuses to acknowledge that. So clearly the vice president has some gravity. Also, of course, Joe Biden, the former president of the United States, would have never been.
I zoned out onto what you were saying. It is so funny what Trump said.
vice president, in terms of the election, does not have any impact. I mean, virtually no impact. You have 2 or 3 days where there's a lot of commotion as to who, like you're having it on the Democrat side, who it's going to be. And then that dies.
You know, he's so triggered that his commotion and fanfare lasted 72 hours. I mean, Griffin, you followed that.
He's so sad.
I know you went the entire time without sleeping from the moment he was shot at the rally.
Just like Trump. I was screaming, fight, fight, fight at my adult education center.
The MAGA momentum was palpable, but it was maybe a 4-day fluke. And then once that happened, the Democrats were like, okay, it's actually over. If we keep Joe Biden, we have to do something crazy. And they stole it all back.
Down, and it's all about.
Can we do the Indian black one next?
Absolutely. I got it pulled up. Don't worry.
Oh, sick.
Virtually never has it mattered. Maybe Lyndon Johnson mattered for different.
Fucking idiot. You're literally running against the vice president of the United States, and this is the line. This is the best line they can come up with. Vice presidents? What? No one even cares about vice presidents.
I feel like if the vice president is news stories all the time, then it will hurt. You know, like I think traditionally that's true that most people don't care, but not if like every single day he's like sexualizing dolphins and fucking couches. Where did the couch one come from? Does anyone know the genesis, the origin of the couch?
Someone posted a fake screenshot from Hillbilly Elegy saying that if you read like pages like dorm years.
Oh, okay. Well, all right.
Really convincing, but it just went viral and people started, making memes.
I was about to defend him if he was like fucking 10 years old or something like that, because when you're 10, there's all sorts of objects, maybe it's the fridge, maybe it's the couch, who knows? You're getting your first boner, you have no idea what to do with it.
You fucking elitists.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you did nothing weird with your first boners.
Griffin learned how to suck his own cock. He was more committed than the rest of us. He was an achiever early on.
Yeah, and that's why I'm such a fulfilled person at this point. I can just focus on my goals now. But the fact that this was in college, that's upsetting to me, because then that means that was a dorm room scenario where that wasn't just his couch, but that was a shared couch.
Right.
Public couch.
Yeah, the one thing I do have to ask you guys about JD Vance and this dynamic between Donald Trump, right? The thing about Trump is he hates being upstage. People have said he wouldn't even pick a vice president if he didn't have to, because he hates sharing the spotlight with anyone. Now, JD Vance absolutely is upstaging him, but for all the wrong reasons. The media is talking more about Vance than Trump,
Yes.
but not because Vance is out here slaying it. It's not because he's so beloved and popular that people are.
Sarah Palin's actually hot and wearing eyeliner the correct way.
All right.
Griffin thinks every woman that's between the age of 39.
No, okay, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. Hold on, you guys cannot say that.
Mom, when you were in high school,
I'll let you talk first, but then I won't be talked. I won't be talked over.
She only showed you her love because of CDs that she bought you at
You can
stock.
Do your tax and then I'll talk because that's how Zoom calls work. You know, like you guys cannot pretend be like an attractive, dumb person. There was literally. There was like immediately like porn parodies, like Nayland Palin and stuff.
They have porn
like,
parodies of Hillary Clinton. Are you prepared to tell me she was a MILF too? You fucking weirdo.
Hillary was hot back in the day.
He was hot.
Yes.
Back in the day.
Like fuck off. I'm sorry. Like get your pretentious politics off of my dick. Like
so bad. What are you
like? I'm sorry. You're so moral with the way that you use your penis. This is incredible.
I told you that I thought that Gretchen Whitmer was fair.
Be calling
you guys crazy.
Gretchen Whitmer fair.
Anyway, I did have a serious political, question to ask you guys. Do you think Trump would rather his VP be upstaging him for good reasons because he is popular, or do you think he'd rather his VP, like JD Vance, be upstaging him for bad reasons? In the sense that he's so unpopular, because at least Trump gets to say, well, at least, I'm so
mad.
I just said, do you think Trump would rather be upstaged in a good way by his VP or in the way that we're seeing right now, where it's just because of the negativity?
He hates it. He hates it, and he's depressed, and he doesn't know where to go. And it's sad. I see Trump limping around now, and he looks older all of a sudden, and he really misses Biden. It's so sad. It's like the two old Muppets guys, like if one of them died. And it was just like one of them left.
If one of us gets whacked.
Yeah, it's just
really,
sad, just wrong.
It feels like he was really having fun when Joe Biden was in the race, and for obvious reasons, it was the easiest layup ever. It's like a cat and a mouse. But now, it's not fun anymore. It's actually hard work. He actually has to try and come up with freaking a strategy and, work on his message and, do focus groups and polling and try to adjust accordingly. All this kind of boring stuff that traditionally he hasn't had to worry about, because traditionally he's been able to break every rule in politics and win anyway. In 2016, he didn't follow any of the rules. Didn't matter. This time around, it's not the same race. For one, he's not running against Kamala Harris. He's not coming off 8 years of Obama.
Yeah, it's sad.
And he didn't pick a good VP, unlike last time. Not that Mike Pence was like
the times, but it really feels like he took the break off Twitter and kind of became irrelevant. Like, because he was just like took a break from public life in a certain sense, and he came back and there's a slightly different meta, and his meta's kind of been played out. And it's like, it reminded me of like when the Smosh guys said they're coming back to YouTube to make sketches. And it's like, okay, like, I guess, but it's a different time now. Like, epic Pikachu backpack videos are just not what's happening anymore, Smosh. And I feel the same way about Trump. And it does make me sad, because time does come for all of us. But he just has to deal with this guy. And so here's a recent JD statement, an inspirational statement.
Senator JD Vance,
like on Friday,
days ago. Yes. In a moment, former President Donald Trump called to ask him to be his about Pikachu. And I'm on the phone with Donald Trump, and I'm like, son, shut the hell up for 30 seconds about Pikachu, he said, referring to the Pokemon mascot. This is the most important phone call of my life. Please, just let me take this phone call. He is so unnatural with the press. It's crazy. He can't even tell a fun anecdote about his family. He makes it super cringy and unrelatable.
It's like, I lectured my son on something that's really important to me. See, it's like, I'm going to tell a fun story about how work is more important than my child. A classic tale that we've learned from every film. That's the hero, right? The guy who's like, actually, son, work comes first.
And that's what we've learned. Ironic about it is that he spent the last freaking 2 or 3 weeks pretending to be the #1 most family guy ever. Family's the most important.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
If you don't have a family, then you're fucking worthless.
It seems today. So let's talk about the family thing for a second. He like has said so much weird shit about family, and like it's it's kind of like all from these like very weird, like niche, like right circles. But the one craziest one to me, I don't know if you guys saw this one, but he was like, oh, if you have more kids, you should get more votes because you have like more stake.
You want to?
Yeah, sure. Let's watch it. He's like, actually, I love families so much that they should get to vote harder, vote more, vote Moss.
JD Vance says Americans without children should face the consequences and the reality and not get nearly the same voice in democracy. Well, let's hear from the horse's mouth over here, everybody.
Let's give votes to all children in this country, but let's give control over those votes to the parents of those children.
Who the fuck is he even speaking to, by the way?
You go
like,
to
who sanctioned this conference?
Yeah, let's see if we can see that. You can kind of make out the sign behind him. It's like inner something studies, intercontinental studies. I don't fucking know.
He's giving a talk at Galt's Gulch.
Yeah. Anyway, let's hear the fucking punchline.
The polls in this country, as a parent, you should have more power. You should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than
guys. That's proud to remind you we don't live in a democracy for all the bad reasons.
Yeah, he's a real one.
Democracy. This is a democratic republic. That means we can still take away a lot more of your rights than we had, and let's make sure we only give those to rich homeowners with children. That's the kind of vision our founding fathers really had for this country. You know,
I like this. It's like Octomom democracy. You know, like and also isn't like their biggest thing that they like get racist about is that like black people have too many kids. So like, wouldn't they whatever? Like, I don't know. I just
to still be together.
Oh, right. And they can't be black. I'm sorry. That'll be another rule. Yeah, that's another one.
Well, speaking of that, guys, let's get to one of our other bangers. Athletes. You know what?
We have that too.
They ran out. Instead, they've now decided that they're going to investigate the background of Kamala Harris, vice president, presidential nominee, presumptive.
Okay, I think I have a theory for how this happened, but we'll play the clip first.
Well, to see he had no eyes.
When she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She has always
But
identified as a black woman.
I respect
she went to a
either
black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't. Because she was Indian.
Either one. Like it can't be both.
I respect either one.
She became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir,
I think somebody should look into that. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady who's always of Indian.
Yeah, so here's what I think happened. I think he went into like an old mode, like because I think he went into like Elizabeth Warren mode, where like that worked against her because she was like pretending to be a Native American or whatever, and he was just like, oh, let me kind of like Mad Libs my way into one of my like general attacks, and it didn't go well. He's like, well, actually, I have to commit to this now, and now it's so funny because everyone, of course, did like the sort of the immediate like 2016 hysterical reaction, being like, everyone's like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, because it was crazy and it was wild and it was unpresidential. But like, I just know for a fact, like, my Uber driver tomorrow is going to tell me that she's not Indian or black, like that, you know, like she's like this, and no matter what crazy shit he says, it like does immediately transcend as like a new talking point. And I think it's now a talking point that she is not black.
Yeah, but do you think that like that's affecting the race in a good way for Trump? Because I feel like anyone who buys into it is probably already going to vote for Trump. Like anyone who hears that and is like, huh, really? Maybe that's true. Well, like, I just don't feel like most normal people care enough about her racial identity. I mean, they can clearly see that she isn't white. She's clearly, you know, something else. So like, I don't think really people care that much about parsing out the lineage of her father was Jamaican and her mom was Indian. Like, I think most people can just see that with their own eyes. Like, is it that? What's the there? You
know, and the other thing, one of the things that happened in that lecture that for whatever reason, stuck in my dad, longtime Republican voter's craw was the black jobs comment. You know what I mean? I just think that the Teflon Don thing that Gavin pointed out, the walls of Jericho are tumbling down. This racist shit he says is starting to rub people the wrong when he says black jobs. Like, what are black jobs, right? Like, most American working class people, they work with a lot of fucking people of color nowadays. We're a heterodox society. We always have been. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't land with voters. And I think that Trump is starting to really reap the effects of that. You know what I mean? He's starting to come down to earth.
Like at the end when they ask, is she a DEI hire? And he's like, I don't know. Maybe. It's like, say yes. If you want to dabble in this racist rhetoric, then just be like, yeah, I think she's an affirmative action hire. I don't think that she deserves to be there. I think she was only chosen because of the color of her skin. Biden didn't like her. She's a failure of a politician. This is why she was picked. That I actually think, some people, even though it's, kind of racist, they would at least be like, I see what he's saying. I see the point that he's making. There is a logic to this argument. Just casting into question the, her racial identity. I don't think that, like I said, there's no gotcha there. There is no there. There's not really an argument being made. It's just like an old man being confused about the concept of someone being biracial. That's how I think it comes off.
Yeah, he accidentally did it, and now he's committed to it, and now it's a talking point and part of the thing, and now JD Vance will give an impassioned statement about it, and everyone will.
Well, that's the whole MO of the whole campaign, right? He accidentally stumbled into it, now he's stuck with it.
I've seen, them already go to barbershops and ask Republican black people what they think, and they're like, oh, maybe she's not really as black as she said she was or whatever, I think those guys will probably say whatever Trump says too. Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a talking point that really sways anyone. And I did recently watch some old clips of Trump from 2016, and there was so much more economic populism or whatever in his stuff that I did think swayed a lot of the Obama guys. But yeah, now it's just depressing. Yep. It's Kamala's race to win.
Yes, I actually totally agree with that point you just made, Griffin, about the economic populist stuff. And just from my personal experience, talking to the people I know who did vote for Donald Trump in 2016, and not just people I know who said, I voted for Trump in spite of his racism and his bigotry, better in an economic sense, as opposed to what Hillary was going to do. I don't think for most Trump supporters, he drops all the economic populism. He's not talking as much about bringing the jobs back and ending the wars. If anything, he's running to the right of Harris on war, specifically Israel. He's saying that he's going to give Netanyahu whatever he wants to finish the job. So if you just take away all of that populist rhetoric, and it is just this racist shit that people don't like. And it's again, it's not even logical. It's not like he's even making a case that she was only hired because of her race. You can't even do that. It's just incoherent, old man rambling.
I do like that he doesn't, not even Trump likes DEI though. He's like, that phrase sucks. I'm not going to use that phrase. That's for babies or whatever.
He doesn't like it because he didn't come up with it. He's only married to the moniker to this new stand-up drop.
Oh no.
Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is weirder than JD
gay
Vance.
Sex obsessed. I mean, come on. You could say that about our show too.
Oh, it's 100% true about our show. We called our show Circle Jerk America, and you want to accuse us of being horny? We're guilty as charged. But Joe Rogan is keeping Austin weird, and not in a good way. Let's read.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Austin has been a fucking pit,
from New York City. He also lives in Austin and thinks it hasn't lost its charm. It was in 89 when Linklater filmed Slacker. You know what I mean? Back when the buzz was real, Anyway, moving on, Griffin, we understand you've lived in every great American city. The massively popular podcaster, who also happens to be a stand-up comic, moved to Texas, yada, yada, yada. We don't care about all of this. Podcaster returned to that topic once more, saying he's so invested in aliens existing that if on the propensity for abduction stories to include anal probes, and mused that what these abductees aren't telling us is how the aliens gave them the best orgasms of their lives. I think that's want to be real clear. I believe in trans people, Rogan insisted, because I think the world is strange and nature is strange and nature can throw you a curveball.
He's like, I believe in aliens. I believe in trans people. Yeah. There's all these weird things out there, these myths that, you can believe in.
He's like, oh, I believe in Bigfoot too, man. I hunted for him for years, man, years. He says, and I fully support your right as an adult to do whatever you want that makes you happy. I believe in freedom and I believe in love, but I also believe in crazy people. Rogan wondered why suddenly every man in a dress is stunning and brave, and blamed pop culture of his lifetime for depictions of killers as crazy. Pervert wizard waved a magic spell on the whole world, he remarked. With a wave of his wand, you can walk through a woman's locker room with a hard cock.
Wait, pause. He's like
a Nazi.
He's like, the villains of these horror movies inspired everyone to be trans? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe it did. Maybe that's the one thing he gets right.
This is the punchline, Griffin.
I'm sorry.
The punchline.
My bad.
With a wave of this wand, you can walk through the woman's locker room with a hard cock, and anybody who complains is a Nazi. Abracadabra, and it just worked. That was the hard hitting humor that most people paid $165 a ticket before 354. You know, a human thumb too. He doesn't even have hair.
Did you say
we could play these clips on air? But
you think Netflix will fuck you?
Oh, I know for a fact Netflix will fuck us about this, and it's like a serious strike.
They'll be like, these jokes are too good. We need to make money off of them.
Yeah, he like compares himself to being Elon Musk's dog. Let me just command F it, dog. Nope, it's not there. Musk. Let's see what this article says about Musk. Yeah, he does it. They don't do any of the specific bits about Musk in this one. Yeah, Gavin, do you want to go ahead and pull it? He does concede here. He says some of the things I say make sense and a lot of them don't. It's up to you to figure out what's what. That's the fun part. And I agree. If you have to be a literal dumbass to take Joe Rogan seriously on anything, to go to him for any kind of advice, Gavin and I have long stood on the hill that the only thing that Joe Rogan is good for is talking about shit that you know isn't true. So I want him to talk about how Göbekli Tepe is like actual proof that we've lived society 100 times, and they probably had computers and flying cars and stuff, and that's how we got, the pyramids in Egypt and whatnot. But I don't want to actually hear his insight on anything that might be real or remotely within the realm of reality. Anyway.
Yeah, I want to know how they move them big rocks. I don't know with all this stuff, but like, I mean, the trans thing, has he talked about it yet? Has he talked about the Olympics yet? I mean, everyone's been talking about this Olympics trans thing. Have you guys talked about it on your show yet?
Wait, hold on. He says after COVID, I don't think we went to the moon. I think Michelle Obama's got a dick. Oh no, sorry. This is his full quote. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm just making that bit. I was like, wait, is that a bit?
It's still like, I don't even know what to say about it. It's just stupid. It's just like a fake. It's literal fake news, and people are just talking about it like it's not.
But it's like not just like Tim Pool, like the normal suspects. This has already like risen up to like JD Vance and Trump doing like part of their stump speech stuff about it now. Like it's so post reality, it's crazy. Like where did this begin? I think it really began with like, so everyone's already knows about this, but just to set it up or whatever, like, yeah, you can keep that on screen. Like there was this like battle between like this like Algerian boxer and this Italian boxer.
Yeah.
And yeah, go for it.
Khalif.
You're the fighter. You like fighting stuff.
Oh, I do. And I've been following this story. Imaine Khalif, she's a female boxer. She's not undefeated. She's not a juggernaut. She's not a powerhouse. She is a woman. She has been defamed by the press worldwide, accusing her of being a man. And it's really created a divide in the world of sports. Everyone who's even remotely right-wing, and also a lot of assholes who consider themselves to be like enlightened centrists. Piers Morgan came out, was like, this is a global scandal. I can't believe we've got two men fighting for the women's gold, which is absolutely not true. Both of the competitors
I think Piers tweeted something like, I think Piers, after like realizing he was wrong, tweeted something like, final solution, chromosome DNA test for everyone. I was like, I don't know if that's how you want to phrase the solution.
Yeah, it's crazy. And also, shout out to Uncle Chael's son, and ain't no bad guy like Uncle Chael. Even this guy, who is a Republican, he ran for office as a Republican.
Chael,
but he was a big-time middleweight fighter. He fought Anderson Silva in one of the absolute great title attempts in UFC history. He lost in the final, be denied. He weighs in, dunking on the quartering, being like, this is inaccurate. If you go to his Twitter, he also dunked on some other guy that I wasn't familiar with. He says, hold on. He says, Matt, you got played, delete this. The XY talk and the testing for such was misinformation. And he's talking about how this guy on Newsmax is like being an idiot.
The fact that he watches Newsmax is let's keep breaking this down. So basically they fight, they box, and then instantly they're like, she the Algerian woman like just like beats the Italian boxer, and she's like, "Wow!" and she leaves, and she's like, "I got hit so hard," and then immediately like the suspects like Tim, she's like, "Whoa, she didn't eat her mushroom before the boxing match, and so now like J.K. Rowling like tweets about it and is like, "This is like a shocking moment in history," or whatever, and that like goes viral, and they basically are just like, "Oh, she like looks manly, so we're just gonna call her a man." There's like,
yeah, he's burying the lead. There was a band organization.
But that's definitely not like where it started. I think
That is where it started.
I disagree. I think it started by people just saying she looked manly, and then they started to find more information to try to back up their theory. I think they reverse engineered it. I do not think that J.K. Rowling had looked into all these like weird intricacies from the fucking look of it and the transvestigators. And then they started to backtrack and find stuff. And
has anyone corrected themselves? Like, I don't think I've looked at you just like, I'm going to say whatever I want and double down on it, even after I'm corrected, because
I think
cares?
they've chosen to believe that it's all a massive cover up and that she is a man. And I want to throw this one up, Griffin, because this was the first thing that crossed my mind. And admittedly, I do follow boxing, and I had been keeping an eye on Olympic boxing, though not super intently. And this was the first thing that caught my eye, was the fact that they had been previously barred from other women's events, but the board that had barred them
was like a Russian board.
Yes, it was a Russian board that was scandal ridden and mafia controlled. So of course we're not supposed to take them seriously. All I'm telling you is that what they said was wrong. There's no evidence to support that this woman actually does have she was going to spank the Russian that she was fighting, and so they fucked it up and rigged it. But I think this is the origin of what J.K. Rowling's picked up on and why it caught fire. It all goes back to a debunked organization, a corrupt Russian organization. I'm not trying to feed into any Cold War fervor, but that's what the fuck it was. The Olympic Committee was like, hey, we're not going to take this as valid. You're not a credible organization. We're going to allow these women to compete. And now everybody's having a meltdown that these are the two women that are going to be competing for gold in the finals.
No, I agree with all of that, Zach. I'm just quibbling on the timeline here. I think that we are in a moment that is post-reality in the level of transvestigation, where anyone that you don't like is now trans, and it must be investigated. That is the level that we are at now. So yes, like there was those then stories to try to build out your case afterwards, but I guarantee you that people like J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk probably saw one or two tweets, thought the woman looked too manly, and went to town. And
I also think that with a lot of people like J.K. Rowling, they desperately want a trans woman boxer to brutally assault or knock out or whatever biologically female boxer. They want that to happen so bad so they can point it and say, see, all my years of bigotry are justified. This is what I was warning against. This is what I was worried about. And now it's happened. I'm vindicated. I'm not a bigot. I was just interested in protecting women. They desperately want that to happen. So as soon as they saw something that even looked like that's what was happening, they're like, done. I don't give a shit about the facts. I don't give a shit about anything else. My narrative is now confirmed.
Yeah, they're like conservatives saw like they put what they saw as a man hitting a woman, and they're like, just keep it in the home. But the thing like too for me is like, I do think now transvestigating is like the new thing to do just to your enemies. It's the new Red Scare. Everyone actually is not their gender, because I don't know if you saw this, but Kyle Rittenhouse was getting transvestigated a day or two ago.
Yeah.
So what happened is, I put it in our DMs too. It was probably too deep in there, but what happened is Kyle Rittenhouse came out and was like, I'm voting for Ron Paul instead of Trump because the Second Amendment or some bullshit. Yeah. And then immediately people were commenting and just pulling up old pictures of him and being like, that's a woman. That's a woman. And I don't think that Gavin, like, I actually don't think it's not coming from Nathan just wrong that they really care about women. I actually think that they hate women. It's what we discovered with Lady Ballers is like, I'm gonna be a woman. And yeah,
I
like,
agree.
all
that is what it's about. But they don't want the public to think that about them.
Right. Yeah.
If a trans woman actually did brutally beat down a biological female on a live Olympic sporting event, then then they would be able to point to that and say, you know, for the sake of their public image, no, this is what I was worried about the whole time. It was never about bigotry, even though, yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, it is about, and then keep being a bigot and not be called a bigot because they can say, no, I'm just concerned about violence against women.
I think John Idarola actually made a great point in pushing back against Cenk the other day on the Young Turks when he talked about how they don't have enough real instances of that, right? As Gavin mentioned. So
there's almost none.
They have to invent it. Otherwise, it stops being a relevant talking point. People won't feel afraid that trans people are overrunning sport, which of course they aren't, but the hysteria has to be fed to be sustained. And so they have to make up, you know,
crazy
fiction.
shit. Yeah. Speaking of J.K. Rowling, one last thing I wanted to talk about. I know we're.
Oh, I have a J.K. Rowling thing too. Are you talking about the mold?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right. The pictures. Do you have the pictures?
I do. Yeah, they're right here. So J.K. Rowling changed her profile picture recently. This is what it was, and immediately people started pointing out.
Go to our DMs. Did you see the before and after? Because we have a shot of what this living room looked like. Just if you wait, this is the new one. Wait, okay. Go. There's in our DMs. There's a shot of the before picture of what this room used to look like. That is 100% black mold because the room did not look like that before.
I got it.
Yeah, there is so much going on in there. This is like Resident Evil Biohazard shit. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Either she has the worst taste in wallpaper, and that's some like weird design.
That is a living organism on that wall.
that is
from another realm. I think it might be spiritual. Wager it was witchcraft.
I'm saying it's J.K. Rowling is turning into Venom whenever she's transphobic. It's like, J.K., let's talk about men's and women's bathrooms.
Right. And as soon as she made this her profile picture, which was like a week ago, everyone started making memes. This guy said, sorry, but is that black mold growing up the walls of her house? Is that why she's the way she is? Referring to the fact that seemingly the only thing she thinks about now is trans people. Literally, if you look at this woman's timeline, she talks about nothing but trans people. Nothing. Apparently, it's the only thing going on in her entire brain. But either way, she immediately caved to the memes and updated.
And now she's got a picture of a dick behind her head.
And everyone immediately points out, what the fuck is up with this phallus dangling?
That's a little
for Juan. You know what I mean?
That's what we in the Harry Potter universe call a Cho Chang behind her right there. Wow, she's
gonna make her Ron Weasley. You know what I mean?
I'm glad she's showing us a part. You know, letting us into her life a little bit. I mean,
truly glorious.
I think it might be actually the phallus that has been lodged, you know, and protruding from, you know, and that might lead to the mold and the rage tweeting about trans people who aren't trans.
Yeah. She's gonna live like another radioactive like Half-Life, like the Hills Have Eyes people with all this fucking mold inside her. We're gonna be dealing with her in like 2150. Yeah, I mean it's disgusting, and all these people are fucking freakish. But like, does any of this like hit the normie realm? Because I do think that if you're not a fucking wokey fucking lefty, knows all the trans stuff and knows why it's good and normal, and are just kind of like someone who doesn't know a lot about these subjects and like doesn't do all the follow-up. I mean, this is gone into a national story. Like, unfortunately, I do think this is probably like the most transphobic moment in like history, probably like in international history. Like, when has it got
literal fake news already just has this opinion that trans people shouldn't participate in sports, that trans people are bad? Like, I if anything, I actually think in the long term, it does great disservice to the anti-trans movement, because the more they just run with fake news and propagate fake headlines, smearing innocent people, by the way, throwing innocent people under the bus. Now this poor woman has to, you know, post pictures of herself as a 13-year-old to prove to the world that she's actually, it does turn them off. So I think that in the long term, while I agree it's a terrible moment for trans people, specifically trans athletes, I do think in the long term it kind of discredits the movement, specifically the fact that all the people, even J.K. Rowling, people that are like credentialed and, elites of society, people that are educated, if even they're like just spreading this, it kind of just discredits their entire argument.
And it forces them to be lumped in with these fucking idiots like Ian Miles Chong, who put a picture of Katie Ledecky, somebody that everybody in America knows as a woman. She's beloved. She's one of the great distance swimmers of all time, certainly of this generation. She left like a half a fucking pool between her and the person that got silver. And Ian Miles Chong is out here being like, is this a man or a woman? How you respond will determine the strength of your character. It's just absolutely crazy.
I mean, they're gonna transvestigate like a chess tournament next and be like, that man beat that woman. I mean, it is a wild moment. I think it does get worse though before it gets better, because I just think that a lot of this like anti-trans stuff, I don't know, like it seems like they run on it, but most people that do run on it lose. But also it seems like one of the only ways to get attention anymore, like in conservative circles.
Well,
I think this is a problem with JD Vance, kind of how fucked the new breed of Republicans are, because if you're still a Republican under the age of 40, you're in a very like niche outcast group of fucking Nazis, pedophiles, and fucking closeted gay Groyper guys. And you're in weird Reddits and weird Discord rooms, and like there's just no one normal that's under 40 in the Republican Party. And so this is just what you're going to get.
I agree with that, but I think the good thing about it is that it makes them infinitely more beatable. What JD Vance and his that if you take Trump out of Trumpism, that it's a completely hollow movement that doesn't resonate with anyone other than those exact kind of weirdo incel types that you just described, Griffin. So, I mean, it's definitely not a good thing for society that this sort of culture
you can argue even
is
Trump
getting
can't sell Trumpism anymore.
Yeah, and you could argue that Trump himself can't even sell Trumpism anymore. But I think what it means for the future of the Republican Party, unelectable, frankly. Look at what happened in 2022 with the Doug Mastrianos and the Blake
Masters. So Tim Scott and Mindy, there's a lot of losers this election cycle, but you two are not.
To you. Congratulations.
We do. Big things coming in the next couple of weeks. Working on some new set of Chicago. We are. We're gonna be there. We're gonna smell Biden. We're gonna inhale him. We're gonna see what's cooking in there.
Or the hologram they